There's something about family that can just overcome things that mere friendship would crumble under. There's something about family affection that can overcome hardship, okay? And so it tells us to have brotherly affection. So we know that it needs to be stronger than just mere friendship. Now that's hard because now we have families and we understand how family affection can overcome hard things. But we need to also understand that we, in the church, we're called to be family, but spiritually speaking, we're not physical family, but we are spiritual family. We're adopted into the same spiritual family. We're adopted as brothers and sisters in the Lord. And that's something that we ought to consider deeply and ought to consider how can we understand our relationships with each other to go past mere friendships. That's something for us to understand. Because a true Christian, even in the event of spits and spats, a true Christian should love the church. A true Christian should love the church. In John 13:35, it says, Jesus says, people will know you are my disciples if you have love for one another. It talks about having love for one another, and it's deeper than just a mere friendship love. It is into a brotherly affection toward one another. Now, here's something interesting, I think, is that in the Bible, you'll see sometimes there's an inward focus within the family of God and loving the family of God. And then oftentimes, as we know in what we love as evangelicals, the Great Commission, which is an outwardly focus of love. But it seems that there is a lot more often than we might think, an inwardly focus of love first. An inwardly focus of love first. Now, Paul talks about these inwardly focuses when he says, if someone does not support their family, their own household, he is worse than an unbeliever. So he talks about how someone must support their own immediate family, to love and support their own immediate family, first and foremost. And if they don't do that, then they are worse than an unbeliever. In fact, Jesus rebukes the Pharisees. Some of the Pharisees, they would give lots of money or lots of time to their temple, but then they would neglect their parents. They would neglect their parents, okay? And so those are those people that would give while their own family was in need. And he said that's terrible. And so there is a bit of a focus on the inward before the outward. We even see that we know that the Bible tells us that what comes out of our mouth is an overflow of our heart. So if we want our words and our living to be excellent, then we need to have our heart be brought in line with God. We need to have our heart be brought in line with God's will. The inward focus needs to happen first before the outward focus is going to be done well. And so when we have all these instances of showing brotherly affection, we need to know that if we want to do the Great Commission well, we need to love one another well in the church. And so it's an outwardly focused. What happens inward overflows outward. And so we're called to have brotherly affection towards one another.